I'm Tracy Sabol. Tonight on EWTN News Nightly, abortion in America. The Supreme Court hears arguments on a major case out of Idaho. We have a report and analysis. Foreign aid. President Biden signs a measure to support Israel, Taiwan, and Ukraine. We're at the White House. Armenian Genocide. How the world is remembering atrocities committed against the Christian community there. Plus faith, hope, and clarity. Pope Francis reminds the faithful of the importance and power of 3 simple virtues. These stories and more tonight.
From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you for being with us on the Feast of St. Fidelis. Our top story tonight, we begin with the Idaho abortion case showdown before the U.S. Supreme Court. Less than 2 years after justices returned abortion policy to the states by overturning Roe, another case is before them. This one involves efforts to restrict abortion. Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales has the latest. Eric?
Good evening, Tracy. The stakes are high. This is the first time Supreme Court justices are considering the scope of a specific state's abortion ban since Roe v. Wade was overturned. Pro-abortion activists say the Biden administration is right in using the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, EMTALA, to force nearly all hospitals to provide emergency abortions.
It's appalling that we are here today arguing about whether pregnant people who are facing blood loss, infection, the risk of death, the risk of loss of future fertility, can receive the health care that they need, including abortion.
Well, there's no conflict between EMTALA and the Defense of Life Act in Idaho. Both of them preserve the life of the mother and the unborn child. And so this manufactured difference is a very transparent attempt by the Biden administration to reimpose that federal mandate on abortion.
Inside, the justices heard oral arguments. The court is deciding whether Idaho's abortion restrictions conflict with EMTALA.
In cases like these, where there is no other way to stabilize the woman's medical condition and prevent her from deteriorating, EMTALA's plain text requires that she be offered pregnancy termination as the necessary treatment. And that's how this law has been understood and applied for decades.
Idaho accuses the Biden administration of a federal power grab to force its pro-abortion agenda on states.
If ER doctors can perform whatever treatment they determine is appropriate, then doctors can ignore not only state abortion laws, but also state regulations on opioid use and informed consent requirements. That turns the presumption against preemption on its head and leaves emergency rooms unregulated under state law.
Physicians say they're confused about competing laws and are worried about losing their licenses or face stiff penalties, even jail time.
It completely turns the entire system of how we've operated on its head. And it really, I think for a lot of doctors would make them start questioning, well, wait a minute, if the Biden administration is saying this about abortion, what's next?
All of this is playing out during an election year when the Biden administration is using the issue of abortion to energize voters and try and get them to the polls. Outside the U.S. Supreme Court, Eric Rosales, EWTN News Nightly.
For a medical perspective on this case, we go to Dr. John Prochowski, founder of Tepeyac OBGYN, a pro-life faith-based medical practice, and Divine Mercy Care. He is also a former abortionist. Dr. Prochowski, great to have you on today. Explain to us what an emergency abortion is and in what type of situation would a woman need one, if at all?
Well, the word abortion is very loaded, Tracy. Elective abortion is never necessary to treat a disease. There are times that in treating the disease, such as hemorrhage, when the mother is only a few weeks pregnant, or an infection where you must treat the underlying infection in the womb, that sadly, there is a secondary effect that you separate mom from her unborn child, not directly like an elective abortion. Remember, this is abortion on demand. This is that they're saying elective abortion is health care. We've been practicing excellent, life-affirming, Hippocratic medicine for millennia. And for the last 30 years, I've had to work under EMTALA laws, and you never have to provide an elective abortion. There are times, such as an ectopic pregnancy, in those several few cases where there's a heartbeat, we target the disease, never the patient with the disease. We take out a section of the tube. We target disease. That is excellent medicine. And we always care for 2 patients. So the emergency abortion that they're dreaming up is bypassing the reality that excellent medicine never needs an elective abortion. And we always target the disease as we care for 2 patients, never pitting mom against her unborn child.
Dr. Prochaska, I mean, how do you think this is all affecting doctors and medical care providers, especially when it comes to conscious rights?
Well, you know, Tracy, you put your finger on the pulse, but that's not what that's part of what we're talking about here. So many of us over 50 years of Roe have always had abortion as a backstop, except for those of us out here who have practiced life-affirming medicine. Abortion was never an option, even though at one point I thought it was good and necessary and healthy. Realizing that excellent medicine, the maternal-fetal medicine revolution, the perinatal revolution, where we care for both patients simultaneously, that provides excellent medicine. So what they're talking about in that little clip you ran was about being sued. We don't know what the law is. Wait a second. Excellent physicians know that abortion is morally bankrupt. It's morally wrong. That's why only 7 to 14% of all OBGYNs do them. If it was so good, why don't more of us do it? Because it's brutal and it's violent and it's treating our second patient like a sexually transmitted disease, which they're not. And so it is going to impact. If the United States of the Biden power structure says you must trump watching and waiting, treating the disease, serial exams, stabilizing the woman. Abortion doesn't stabilize the unborn child. It doesn't stabilize the mother. In fact, it just puts a Band-Aid on what needs to be good medicine. When I was a resident, I had a case like this in which we did not stabilize the mother. We aborted the infant, and in the process of aborting that infant, the mother died. Because remember, abortion makes you take shortcuts, and excellent health care today, we are all demanding, take us seriously, get us to go to the roots, never pit mom against baby.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, it will hurt much of our conscience rights. So yes, I hope this does not pass.
Yeah, and Dr. Prochaska, thank you so much for coming on. Always a pleasure to speak to you, and thank you so much for your insights. God bless you.
God bless you, Tracy.
The House of Representatives in Arizona has passed a repeal of a near total ban on abortion. The measure now heads to the state Senate. 3 Republicans joined every House Democrat in supporting the repeal. Amid the debate, California's governor wants to allow doctors from Arizona to perform abortions in his state. Democrat Gavin Newsom supports the measure. He added that, quote, Arizona Republicans continue to put women in danger. For now, the Arizona law is set to take effect on June 8th. President Joe Biden says a new foreign aid package makes America stronger. He blames Russia for a brutal campaign against Ukraine, and he says the new U.S. support package will make an immediate difference on the battlefield. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports. Owen.
Tracy, President Joe Biden delivered remarks about the aid package that will help Ukraine, and he believes the rest of Europe. The president also says when our allies are stronger, we are stronger. Now, the aid package includes air defense capabilities, artillery rounds, and armored vehicles. It does not guarantee a victory for Ukraine.
President Joe Biden says he's surging support to Ukraine to block Russia's invasion. The new military supplies come thanks to the bipartisan congressional bill that he just signed into law.
It's going to make America safer. It's going to make the world safer. And it continues America's leadership in the world, and everyone knows it.
The president also repeats his support for Israel and says the money will help provide more air defenses for the Jewish state.
The security of Israel is critical. It will always make sure that Israel has what it needs to defend itself against Iran and terrorists it supports.
And the president says $1 billion will support Palestinian civilians in Gaza.
And Israel must make sure all this aid reaches the Palestinians in Gaza without delay. And everything we do is guided by the ultimate goal of bringing these hostages home, securing a ceasefire, and setting the conditions for an enduring peace.
The bill does not provide money to secure the U.S. border with Mexico. Biden believes that will come later. The president's national security advisor also praised the new foreign aid bill.
The passage of this bill sends a powerful message to the rest of the world about the enduring strength of American leadership. And believe me, the rest of the world has been and continues to watch closely.
Military experts say the $61 billion can help triage Ukrainian forces, but warn that the fight could last years. Jake Sullivan believes the money will make a critical difference.
Our view is that Ukraine retains key advantages in this fight. Ukraine can and will prevail.
But China, which launches daily incursions into waters and airspace around Taiwan, blasted the package, warning it will create a dangerous situation. The package aimed at maintaining and upgrading Taiwan's military hardware.
President Biden also said history will remember this moment, and he adds America stands with its allies, opposes tyrants, and shapes global events. And he thanked congressional leaders for helping get the bill to his desk after months of wrangling. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
Well, the majority of senators on Capitol Hill are praising the passage of the foreign aid bills.
Failure to pass the supplemental would have been a gift to Putin, to Iran, to Xi, and hurt America politically, militarily, economically, and culturally. I'm glad that when it mattered most, finally, both parties came together to do the right thing for our nation's security.
A lot of these bad actors are now colluding and working together. You have the Iranians working with the Russians, working with the Chinese, the North Koreans, and there's sort of an evil axis out there. And I think it's important that the United States and our allies make it clear that we're not going to continue to turn a blind eye to this bad behavior.
Included in the legislation is a possible U.S. ban of TikTok. It forces the China-based parent company to sell the social media platform. The move is expected to face legal challenges and disrupt the lives of content creators who rely on the short-form video app for income. Well, House Speaker Mike Johnson is calling for the president of Columbia University to resign. He made the remarks during a visit to the school to speak with students about anti-Semitism.
And today I'm here to proclaim to all those who gnash their teeth and demand to wipe the state of Israel off the map and attack our innocent Jewish students this simple truth: neither Israel nor these Jewish students on this campus will ever stand alone.
Columbia is one of several schools that has been rocked by pro-Palestinian protests amid frustration over the Israel-Hamas war. This comes as the president of Columbia faces censure calls while encampments have been set up at the school. And we have a lot more still to come here on EWTN News Nightly, including demanding answers. The United Nations calls for an investigation into mass graves discovered in Gaza. We have the details. And a prominent Catholic leader in the Middle East discusses the conflict in the region and its effect on the church. Welcome back. The United Nations is calling for an investigation into mass graves uncovered at 2 Gaza hospitals. More than 200 bodies were found buried deep in the ground and covered in waste. Both hospitals were raided by Israeli forces. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights said among the deceased were allegedly older people, women, and wounded, while others were found with their hands tied. Meanwhile, in the city of Rafah, Israel has carried out airstrikes. It happened as the military signaled that it plans a ground assault on the city. Hundreds of thousands of people have taken refuge in Rafah during the war. Well, after a near 3-month lull, Iran-aligned militia have resumed attacks on U.S. forces in Iraq and Syria. Now the Pentagon wants the Iraqi government to do something about it.
Finally, on April 22, Iran-maligned militia groups conducted 2 unsuccessful attacks on U.S. forces in Iraq and Syria. These are the first attacks on coalition facilities since February 4th. These attacks put coalition and Iraqi personnel at risk. We call on the government of Iraq to take all necessary steps to ensure the safety of U.S. forces in Iraq and Syria against attacks from these groups. If these attacks continue, we will not hesitate to defend our forces as we have done in the past.
And for more, I'd like to bring in Chaldean Catholic Archbishop Bashar Warda. Your Excellency, thank you so much for coming on. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Pleasure. Fine. Thank you.
Well, the Pentagon press secretary called on the Iraqi government to help protect U.S. troops there. What is your reaction to that?
Well, as you know, so far as the visit of the Prime Minister to Washington has been a very successful one. That's what we hear from the media. He had the chance also to visit the Chaldean community and met the Iraqi community there. There is a talk about this partnership that what we call lasts to benefit the Iraqis and the region, and we hope, of course, all of the not just protecting the troops also, but to end any kind of violence, because I mean, we know we are just tired of all of this violence, and we hope, I mean, with that, this would bring a new atmosphere to the dialogue and also to this partnership.
Yeah, and how are the Iraqi people feeling about all of this that's taking place right now? What have you been hearing?
It varies. It depends to which community you are talking. Here in Kurdistan, for example, they see that the presence of the international group is a help and support the Iraqi army and forces, because it's a matter of training them to reach a professional level where they can protect the interest and the sovereignty of Iraq. However, you know, the Middle East is kind of turmoil now with all of this violence that's coming, whether in Gaza or also the violence between Israel and Iraq. It's a bit worrying, to be honest, to all of us.
And as you mentioned, Israel and Iran, they have started strikes against one another, and Israel is fighting Hezbollah in Lebanon. And it appears that Yemen's Houthis may be attacking ships in the Gulf of Aden again. How worried are you about this possibly spreading into Iraq?
Well, everyone is worried because, you know, Middle East is just about to just go in war if we cannot really think in a prudent way, and to prevent our people from spreading this violence. But as a Christian, I've mentioned several times over the last 50 years, because of wars and persecution and pressure, we've lost quite a number of the Christians who left the Middle East, from 20% to less than 4% in the whole of Middle East. That's a bit worrying to everyone, not just the Christian and the churches, but also to the Muslim community who experienced the life of coexistence for centuries together.
Yeah, it is affecting everyone. Do you know if the church is actively working on peace efforts?
It's the first duty to pray for peace, but the news also and the event that comes from whether in Gaza or in Syria is always trying to reach out peacefully and to be part of the solution, to be there for humanitarian aid. That's the mission and the role of the church, always was and is still, and it will remain.
Archbishop Warda, always so good to be with you. Thank you so much, and we are praying for you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Up next on EWTN News Nightly, somber observance. The White House is among those weighing in on a day dedicated to the killing of tens of thousands of Armenian Christians. Plus, Pope Francis gives an example of a Christian who lived by the virtues of faith, hope, and charity. President Joe Biden is among those weighing in on Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day. In a statement, the White House said in part, quote, the campaign of cruelty began on April 24th, 1915, when Ottoman authorities arrested Armenian intellectuals and community leaders. In the days, months, and years that followed, 1.5 million Armenians were deported, massacred, or marched to their deaths. Pope Francis twice called the operation against the Armenians a genocide, including during his 2016 visit to one of the earliest Christian nations. Turkey accused the Holy Father of a, quote, crusades-like mentality. And President Erdogan says the U.S. use of the term genocide is a risk to bilateral relations. For analysis, we turn now to Simone Rizkallah, Deputy Director of Education at the Philos Project and a first-generation Egyptian Armenian. Simone, good to be with you today. We have a lot to discuss, but first, remind us again about the genocide that began on this date back in 1915, and how are people in Armenia, how are they remembering this solemn anniversary?
Thank you so much for having me. Well, this Remembrance Day is the first Remembrance Day after the religious and ethnic cleansing of Artsakh, of the Nagorno-Karabakh, last September. So it feels less like a remembrance and more like a truly historical event that we are in the midst of, because Azerbaijan and Turkey are now continuing to threaten Armenia proper and have made it very clear that they will not stop at taking Artsakh and Nagorno-Karabakh, which they've already done, but they will take all of Armenia eventually.
President Biden, as you know, has referred to the Armenian genocide. And as we mentioned, Pope Francis has used the phrase several times, the phrase genocide. What about other world leaders? I mean, are they calling this out as a genocide? What do you know?
The International Court of Justice has referred to it as genocide. I think that it has become pretty common knowledge that this is a genocide. I mean, 120,000 Armenian Christians, you know, kicked out of a region that we have resided in since before Armenians were Christians, and Armenians are the world's first Christian nation. So I don't think that's really up for dispute any longer. But of course, it's very funny to me that Erdogan and Aliyev would accuse Pope Francis of using crusader language when they are already referring to Armenia as Western Azerbaijan. Last week, they destroyed a historic Armenian church. They are renaming Armenian cities. I mean, they're pretty bold to be able to do all of that in front of the world's eyes and yet accuse Pope Francis of using divisive language.
Simone, talk to us about what life is like for Christians in Armenia now.
Well, of course, we have the 120,000 that are refugees, and the ones that were left behind in Artsakh are largely those who are the most vulnerable, disabled, and elderly, which is very, very sad. And of course, Armenians want to be able to take Artsakh back, that they would return to their ancient homeland where they resided for centuries, and of course, protect the country of Armenia proper, from further aggression. So that's really, every Armenian knew that it wouldn't stop with Artsakh, that everything they said about, oh, you know, this is under Azeri jurisdiction, that this was just the first step in eventually taking over all of Armenia, which they have made very clear publicly.
Well, Simone, thank you so much for joining us today and for all your insights. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
The Catholic Bishops' Conference of England and Wales has issued a reflection on gender. The bishops say all are welcome in God's church, but caution against using the language of gender ideology. The church leaders say, in part, quote, pastoral accompaniment must flow from an acceptance of the body. Medical intervention for children should not be supported. Social transition can have a formative effect on a child's development, and this should be avoided with young children. Finally tonight, Pope Francis reminds us of the power of three virtues: faith, hope, and charity.
Quando io è al centro di tutto, il nostro io è al centro, si rovina tutto.
And As Weekly talks to pilgrims at the Vatican, the Holy Father says those 3 virtues are the foundation of Christian life, and they can restore us even when we fall. And as an example of a life led by faith, hope, and charity, the Holy Father pointed to St. John Paul II. We thank you for watching tonight, and remember, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at EWTN News Nightly. I'm Tracy Sabol. Good night, and God bless.